Hey Top Percenters, Red Joey here, and hoping to get this episode early because, well, the new Format X's episode wasn't exactly informative, and whereas mental exercises are fine, they don't make for the best entertainment. Luckily though, this past weekend was US Nationals, and it threw out some nice little surprises. First was the mention of Flygon making it all the way to top 8, I believe it was, but it turns out that the Flygon is a lie. Interestingly enough though, we did find ourselves with one standout deck. Gothitelle Accelgor, with 7 making it to the top 32, and 3 of those making it to the top 8, alongside 1 Darkrai, 1 Klinklang, and 3 Plasma. Yes, you heard me right. There were as many Gothitelle decks in top 8 as Plasma boxes, and that trend carried on for the next 2 rounds, with the top 4 being Plasma Mirror and Gothitelle Mirror, which of course leaves us with the only possible top 2 being Gothitelle versus Plasma. Long story short, Gothitelle won in Game 3 after a terrible lone Duskull start in Game 2. So let's take a look at the new US National Champion with Gothitelle Accelgor. Now, to be fair, at the time of writing this, I've not been able to find a copy of the Nationals winning list online. With that said, my overview and opinions are going to come from lists that I can find, and for all I know, the Nationals winning list had some major tech that I'm not aware of. With that, let's take a look at why Gothitelle Accelgor has become so popular recently when the key components per deck have been in format for most of the season. We'll first need to cover the basic premise of the deck. Of course, it's obvious that the deck involves Gothitelle and Accelgor in some way, namely the Emerging Powers Gothitelle and the Dark Explorers Accelgor. The aim of the deck is to set up an Accelgor with a Gothitelle on bench, then use Deck and Cover to deal 50 damage, poison and paralyze the active, run into the deck, and promote Gothitelle to lock your opponent's items, and in effect prevent them from doing anything in the subsequent turn. But then we hit our first major problem, Gothitelle's retreat cost. For this, the old build of the deck would have used Darkrai and a Dark Energy, but this did lead to one small problem. It requires one of your energy attachments to set it up, which will not be available past your opening turn, as you want to establish the lock as quickly and as constantly as possible. Enter Floatstone. With the Floatstone in format, we had a way to give free retreat to Gothitelle without losing an energy attachment at any point of the game, and really this is a card that allowed the deck to take off. But it's not the only important part of the deck that isn't in the deck's name. We have 2 more important players to take a look at. The first is Mew-X, our old friend from episode 8. Still can't believe we've lasted this long. Mew-X has the ability to copy any attack on the board, as long as he has the energy to use it. This ability makes Mew hugely pivotal in keeping the deck consistent, as with it, you only have to set up 1 Accelgor and just keep it safe on the bench. Now the major advantage of this comes from the effect of Accelgor's Deck and Cover attack, which has you return the attacking Pokemon to the deck. Now if you tried this with Accelgor itself, you find yourself trying to set up a fresh stage 1 Pokemon every turn, while still having to grab a double Colours energy. Mew-X removes this complication by replacing your stage 1 with a basic, meaning even though you still have to grab 2 specific cards from your deck, you don't have to have a basic on the bench already. Of course you still need to set up an Accelgor, but once it's out you're pretty much done, unless you have to switch to it for an attack. But those occasions will most likely be so far apart that you should be able to replace it straight away. The second card that helps this deck come to life is Dusknoir from Boundaries Crossed. He is probably the biggest reason that this deck works. The normal problem with a lock deck is the fact that when you KO an opponent's Pokemon, they can replace it and get at least 1 attack out, meaning that while they're under the lock, your opponent is just going to focus on setting up benched attackers and wait until you give them that window. Dusknoir stops that though with his Sinister Hand. This ability allows you to rearrange the damage on your opponent's field so that the defending Pokemon isn't knocked out until the end of the game, when you can use it to claim your final prizes. Sinister Hand can push the damage to the bench, denying your opponent the window to attack. It also allows you to either sneak prizes from the bench if you really need to get access to your prizes for a certain card, or you can store all of that damage and take all 6 prizes in 1 turn for a grand finale supreme. So, as you can see, this deck is set up to be a lock that never quits, essentially to the point where once the lock is set up, your opponent may be left waiting for you to make a mistake. On the other hand, there are ways the lock can be broken, the most notable being Double Keldeo. But Keldeo Blastoise can have problems against a turn 2 Gothitelle, especially as the majority of lists don't run War Turtle, and even if they did, they'd have to manually search for it. I'm sure some people will say that if Keldeo sets up, then it wins, and that is true, but I'm willing to guess there might have been a reason why there weren't a lot of Keldeo decks at the top tables. And that's all I can really say about Gothitelle Accelgor without seeing the actual list to try and speculate on the choices made. And if I ever get it, I might be able to make an episode covering it and the choices that were made. With that said, I hope you guys and girls have found this episode more informative, and until next time, I'm Rata Joey. You guys will always be the top percent. Peace out.